What would you do if you saw a disabled girl, innocent, fragile, full of dreams, humiliated in public by a pack of heartless bullies? Most people would look away. But that day at Santa Monica Pier, something happened that no one saw coming. A single act of cruelty turned into a moment of unstoppable justice. And the ending, trust me, you'll never forget it. The sun was setting over Santa Monica Pier, casting a golden glow across the ocean. Families laughed on the boardwalk, children held cotton candy, couples strolled hand in hand. But at the edge of the pier, one girl sat quietly in her wheelchair, watching the waves crash against the pilings. Her name was Lila Carter, 16 years old, with hazel eyes that carried both warmth and sadness. 2 years earlier, a car accident had left her unable to walk. The doctors said she was lucky to be alive, but to Lila, life didn't feel lucky. She missed dancing, running, even just standing tall. Still, she tried to find joy in little things, like sketching the sea in her notebook. But joy didn't last long that day. A group of 3 teenage boys swaggered down the boardwalk. They were loud, careless, and cruel. Their leader, a tall boy in a baseball cap, spotted Lila and sneered. "Move, cripple," he barked, shoving his skateboard dangerously close to her wheelchair. Lila froze. Her hands gripped the wheels tightly. She didn't answer. The boys laughed. Another one kicked the side of her wheelchair, jolting her body. Her sketchbook slipped to the ground, pages fluttering in the ocean breeze. "What's the matter?" "Wheels not fast enough," they mocked. People nearby glanced over but quickly looked away. No one wanted to get involved. It was easier to pretend they hadn't seen anything. Tears welled in Lila's eyes. She whispered, "Please, just stop." Instead, the leader smirked and leaned close. "What are you gonna do? Roll away?" Then, in a sudden cruel move, he shoved her wheelchair so it spun slightly, terrifying her as it wobbled near the pier's edge. Gasps came from a few bystanders, but no one stepped forward. Lila's heart pounded. For a moment, she thought she might actually tumble into the sea. But then, just as the boys laughed, a low, rumbling sound rolled down the boardwalk. At first it was faint, like thunder in the distance. Then louder. The unmistakable growl of dozens of motorcycle engines. The bullies stopped laughing. They turned. From the far end of the pier, a sea of bikers rode in, leather jackets glinting in the sunset. Their bikes lined up in formation, chrome shining, engines growling like an approaching storm. At their head was a massive man with a gray beard and tattoos up his arms. His vest bore a patch, "Brothers of Freedom MC." The entire boardwalk froze. And in that moment, the bullies realized they had just messed with the wrong girl. The bikers rolled to a stop, engines cutting off one by one until silence fell, heavy, intimidating, powerful. The leader stepped forward, boots thudding against the wooden pier. His name was Bear, a veteran and president of the motorcycle club. He crouched in front of Lila, his voice surprisingly gentle. "You okay, sweetheart?" Lila nodded weakly, still trembling. Tears streaked her cheeks, but in her eyes was relief. Then Bear stood and turned to the bullies. His gaze was ice cold. "You think you're tough picking on a girl in a wheelchair?" The boys stammered, trying to back away. We were just kidding." The rest of the bikers surrounded them, forming a wall of leather and steel. Each man and woman stared down the bullies, their silence more terrifying than any shout. Bear stepped closer, towering over the ringleader. "You don't humiliate the weak. You don't kick someone who's already fighting battles you'll never understand." One of the bullies tried to laugh it off, but his voice cracked. It was a joke, man." "Not funny," Bear growled. Then he pointed to the sketchbook lying on the ground. "Pick it up." The bully bent, hands shaking, and returned the book to Lila. She clutched it close, still in shock. Bear leaned in close to the boy's ear. "Now apologize. Loud enough for everyone here to hear." The boy swallowed hard. His face flushed red. I'm sorry." "Not to me," Bear said. "To her." The boy turned to Lila, shame burning in his eyes. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. For a long moment, Lila stayed quiet. Then, with a shaky breath, she whispered, I forgive you. But don't ever hurt anyone like that again. The bikers didn't let the boys slip away easy. They marched them off the pier and made sure every bystander saw exactly who the bullies were. The crowd that once stayed silent now erupted in cheers not just for the bikers, but for Lila. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Bear knelt beside her again. You're stronger than you know, he said softly. Don't ever let anyone tell you otherwise. You've got more courage than those boys will ever have. Lila smiled faintly for the first time that day. For the first time in months, maybe even years, she felt powerful. The bikers escorted her home that night, riding slow so her wheelchair could roll alongside Bear's massive bike. To everyone watching, it looked like a queen being guarded by her knights. And from that day on, Lila was never the same. She carried that moment in her heart, the moment strangers became protectors, and cruelty was silenced by courage. Microphone narrator's closing words. Sometimes life puts us in a chair we never asked for. Sometimes people will laugh, mock, and try to break us. But remember this: strength doesn't come from standing tall. It comes from refusing to fall, no matter how many times the world tries to push you down. That day at Santa Monica Pier, a young girl learned something powerful: she wasn't weak. She was unstoppable.